I know you're listening. You're here because something isn't right. Something feels twisted, upside down. Things don't add up. Hello, human. Welcome to our twisted universe. In this episode, we chat with Paul and Mieke Benton about some of their extraordinary experiences covered in their new book, My Life is a Mystery.
Hi, and welcome to our Twisted Universe. Today we're going to be talking to Paul and Mieke Benton. They're authors of My Life is a Mystery. They are ET experiencers, and they're here to share their story and talk about their new book. Hi, guys. Welcome.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi,
hello.
thank you.
Good to see you again.
Mr. Joe, it's very nice to be with you again.
Thank you. It's great. You guys have been traveling all over the country.
We have been everything from the Hart Ranch in South Dakota to an alpaca farm in Wyoming and back. We're having fun.
Oh, how amazing. I love alpacas. They're so cute. Did you get to interact with the animals?
Oh, completely.
There was about 100 walking around us and on 740 acres or something.
And 2 pot-bellied pigs and 5 dogs and
2 emus.
2 emus and
yeah,
a lot of animals.
That's crazy. That's so fun.
Yeah,
so last we talked,
Yes, that was a lot of fun. Thank you, Kristen.
Last we talked, you had not launched your book, and I just wanted to touch base with you and see how it's going now.
Great. So we did. I will show you here. We did publish our book, My Life is a Mystery, and it's a collection of our personal experiences. Everything that's mystical, that at the time we experienced them, it was a little weird sometimes. But once we put all the pieces together like a puzzle, there's meaning to all those experiences, and it's a part of a larger story of the universe. So we're just sharing what we personally experienced. I'm writing the book, and then Paul is adding to it with his own experiences. You can get it on Amazon. It's on Amazon in different countries. You can order it.
So do you think somebody who possibly had an ET experience, they'll be able to relate to this book? Do you think they'll find some peace within the book, or what do you,
For sure.
What do you think the message is?
Yeah, the intention of the book was if we share our own experiences, then others will recognize themselves in it. It's not only ET experiences, it's all the daily unusual experiences, from tapping into other dimensions. What else, Paul?
Just unusual experiences that are usually not talked about, because if you talk about them, people look at you kind of weird and back away, so we try to keep it plain, open, and if people with open minds will see things in there. They may identify themselves with some of their own experiences with that, and that's the idea, to let people know that whatever you experience here on this planet as a human being, it's all okay. And the more we talk about it, the less unusual it becomes, and the more accepted it is. So the more people talk, the better it is.
I've come to realize that everything is like the polar opposite of what they say. Like whatever they're telling you is the truth is completely the opposite. So the magical world is all true.
Exactly.
Yes, very much so.
So the book is for everyone.
It sounds incredible. And you talked about some metaphysical or esoteric. What's going on with that?
It's really about everything, the daily lives, the emotions that comes with those experiences, and the not knowing what it all means is part of it. And the more we talk about it, the more it becomes normal, because actually when we went through those experiences, it felt even more real than sometimes daily life, because the senses were way stronger when we experienced them.
Could you share with our viewers a little snippet from the book or something that is a standout?
Yeah, go ahead.
Shall we, the way we experienced our relationship, shall we go into that, or?
Yeah, well, let's go into the way that we met, because you may notice that we are of two different generations. If you hear us speak, we're from two different countries. And so what occurred to bring us together was incredible. It was magical, synchronicities, and both of us resisted anything around it, because I had just come out of a divorce that wasn't fun, and was not looking for any kind of a relationship. I was a single parent with 3 kids and working 3 jobs, just trying to live, trying to experience life. And Mieke was?
I was single by myself, living with my dog in Belgium, and I just had several long-term relationships, and I figured out I needed to learn to be by myself. I was very uncomfortable just be by myself, so I just stayed in relationships because that was more comfortable. And finally I decided, no, it's time to learn to be by myself, so I was definitely not looking for a relationship. So I started doing alternative healing. So the synchronicities we will share here is to show you it's just part of life. You run into things, you think your life is going to go a certain way, and then the synchronicities happen and it goes in a different turn. And we were actually, afterwards, we realized we were divinely guided to come together, and we will tell a little bit about that story, what the pieces were.
Mm-hmm. So it's 1998, and we were both following alternative healing courses. Mieke in Belgium and myself in Portland, Oregon. And our teachers knew each other. They were both Belgians, and they decided, let's do something really crazy. Let's get a joint American, Belgian alternative healing group together and see what happens. So we did. They did, I should say, and we went along.
With 30 Belgians, we flew over to Oregon, to the hot springs in Portland, Oregon, close to Portland, Oregon, and 8 kids.
Mm-hmm. And I had 3 kids to come along, and there was 2 other kids from our group that were there also. And the only way that I could afford to do this with the things that were already on my plate was to sign up to do childcare during the retreat. So part of the retreat I was doing childcare, and part of it I was doing the processes that we were all in.
Yep. So again, we were not looking for a relationship. We were just there for our own personal development and the experiences. But then things happened, one thing after another. So I think we can share some of them, Paul,
sure,
to give an idea what we're talking about here.
So in this retreat that we were in, we did a couple of different things. We were very much focused on divine masculine and divine feminine and how the two interrelate. Not the old masculine, the old feminine, the control and manipulate, but the new or more open and more honest divine masculine, divine feminine, where we work together to create incredible experiences. So we were in the retreat, and one of the processes that was done was to honor the divine masculine. And in that situation, there were 30 guys lay down on the floor, heads together, and the women danced and drummed and sung for an hour, and it was amazing. Now, I was on kid duty, so I didn't get to experience that, but I heard a lot about it, and it was supposed to be very powerful. But the next day, we did the same thing with the divine feminine. In that case, the women all laid on the floor with their heads together, and us men danced and sang and drummed for an hour to honor the divine feminine, which we all have divine masculine and divine feminine within us, but this was just a way to actually do the honoring.
And it was incredible. We were laying down there. It was actually very intimidating, those masculine voices, and I mean, it was so powerful, and we were just laying there. I was mostly with my eyes closed because it was so powerful to receive that energy.
So we got up from that situation, and I was looking around, and as we do after those kind of situations, people mill around, and sometimes they hug or say different things or communicate. And I looked across the room about 25 feet away, And I saw Mieke, who I didn't know well at all. I just knew who she was at that point. And I looked in her eyes, and I saw the most amazing thing. I saw a galaxy and two people dancing around the edge of this galaxy. Well, I'd never seen that in anybody's eyes before, actually, or since. But
It's like
it got my attention.
like a vision or a download, or you actually just
No,
saw
it was
that.
in her eye. Well, it was a vision, but it was in
Yeah.
her eyes, and it was a galaxy and two people dancing around this. And I'm going,
Hmm.
whoa, okay, that's
You might want to pay attention to that.
What's in
well,
that?
it just caught my attention like crazy. And then I thought, so, well, what do you do with that? You know, I said nothing. I don't. I wasn't looking for a relationship. I didn't know who this woman was, but it definitely got my attention. So that was kind of one of the first things that took me into this situation.
So what happened to me was we just had dinner in the lodge, very nice vegetarian and vegan foods, locally grown there. And I'm walking towards the cabins. We stayed in wooden cabins in the middle of the woods. And my friend Eliane and I walked towards the cabin. And I saw Paul walking there in the distance with his three kids, you know. And I say, Eliane, I was just looking at Paul. I say, Eliane, do you see Paul there? How he's treating his kids so lovingly, kind, patient. I was just observing. The youngest one was in an upset, and he just kneeled down and just talked to him. I said, do you see how Paul treats his children? That quality, and I was pointing with my finger. I said, that quality that Paul shows there, I want to find in a future partner. I said, that's what I like. So I was very clear on what I wanted. Afterwards, I realized if you're really clear on what you wanted and you tell the universe, you will get it. Never thought I would get this whole packet, Paul and the kids, but that was very clear to me. That was very attractive to me. His kindness with his kids was very attractive to me.
I always included my kids in. Again, we were now a separated family, so I always treated them as like adults. You know, as far as sharing everything that we were going to do. So I'd say, well, we're going to do this. What do you think? And they'd always go, yeah, sounds fine. You know, they were young kids. They wouldn't do anything. But it was important for me to include them in any decision or any adventures that we were going on. And that worked quite well.
Yep. So the next thing that happened was the lunch. Yes, so it was our last lunch and it was so good, vegetarian, vegan food grown there at the property. And I was starving. When you do energetic work, you know, you could feel it in the body. And I was so hungry and so looking forward to the last lunch. So I'm in line waiting and I take a plate and a bowl of soup and a salad. I mean, I could hardly carrying it. And I was looking for a place to sit. And I look around and I see Paul and his three children sitting at an empty table there.
Mhm.
So I go up to them and say, hey, would you mind if I could sit next to you? No, go ahead, sit down. Paul was feeding his kids and napkins and, you know, before he eats his own food. So I sit down with all my food. I could hardly wait and I want to start eating and I can't. I'm trying to take a bite, broccoli, my first bite, and my body says, And I was so confused. I had no idea what was happening. When I was standing up, I was starving. When I sit down with Paul and the kids, my body says, you are not going to eat. And it was very confusing. I had no idea what's happening, and I had to throw all my food away, and I was so mad. I didn't say anything to Paul because it was my own internal. Now I understand completely what happened. You know, with sitting with Paul and the children, energetically, I was complete on all levels. I did not need anything. It was so nourishing to be together, but I had no idea at that point. I didn't know Paul. So, except for the few days we were together. So I had to throw away my salad, my soup. I mean, I did not understand. It was beyond logic. But my body told me no. Anyway, so then
the retreat's over and we all go our separate ways. We took phone numbers and things like that so we could keep in touch. Of course, this was 98, very little internet capabilities, you know, so we knew we were going to get together one more time at the last of the middle of the last week that they were here. The Belgians were going to stay for another week, travel around because they hadn't been in the United States. So we were going to take some time, travel around, and then we were going to get back together, and we were going to have a final drumming circle with all the Belgians and Americans, and kind of finalize our retreat that way.
Before we fly back to Belgium. So we were able to stay in America cheaper because we were staying with Paul's classmates, alternative healing students. They offered their homes,
Wow.
so that made it easier for us to stay. We didn't have to pay for any lodging, so that was great. So me and Eliane, my Belgian friend, were staying at one of Paul's classmates' home. Very nice home. Anyway, that was fun. So what happened next?
Well, you decide to visit.
That's right. We decide we want to rent a car. This big Mount Hood was there right in front of us.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was calling us, it's so bombastic. And we're from Belgium where it's all flat. So we're like, we want to see that mountain. So we rent the car, we go to the mountain. We decided to stay one night at the Timberline Lodge.
Oh, cool.
Lodge. And from our room we saw down there Trillium Lake, and it was nice weather, so we said tomorrow we're going to go swim. Next day, enjoying swimming in the water, and just a fun day. And I hear some Americans next to us, and I thought, I'm going to go ask them. They must be locals, go ask them where we should go as tourists. So I asked them, I say, hey, we're from Belgium, we're tourists, where do you think we should go? And this guy said, I think you should go to Hood River. It's not that far. Now, that's where Paul lives, but I didn't know. You should go to Hood River. Just take this road, Now, in Belgian terms, not far. That's about a 10-minute drive. That's not far. Anything longer is far.
I know how far it is from there to there.
Yeah, so everything is close by there. So we're like, okay, great. We followed the instructions. After about 20 minutes driving, we're all three convinced we're lost. This guy said it wasn't far, 20 minutes in, And I say to the other two Belgians in the car, I say, give it one more minute. I don't know, I just said that. Exactly 1 minute later, big sign, Hood River. Still 35 miles out, but at least we knew we were in the right direction. But we were shaking our head because we couldn't comprehend when he was saying not far. Anyway, that was kind of funny. We go in Hood River, and we were starving. We were hungry. So we decided to go to the Hood River Hotel to have lunch. And the waiter asks me, where do you want to sit, inside or outside? And, I say, outside, it's sunny, it's summer. I don't want to sit in an air conditioning restaurant. He says, go ahead. I walk out of the restaurant, I open the door, I step out, and at the same moment, Paul drives with his car, he passes by the restaurant. He never takes that route to pick up his kids, but that day he decides to go downtown. So he drives his car, I come out of the restaurant, he turns his head towards me, I look into his eyes, I recognize him, and my hand goes up by itself because I recognize him. It was like this synchronicity, like, what? And I'm waving, and so he stops his car.
I stop and say, stop, pull over, join him in the restaurant there. And I said, what are you guys doing here? And she says, what are you doing here? And I said, I live here. This is my town.
I'm like, really? Anyway, so
he said, I said, you want to see some of the area, and there's some beautiful, beautiful waterfalls in the Columbia Gorge, which is between Hood River and Portland. So I happen to have a map of those waterfalls, and I said, here's a map. There's a couple of these that are really fun. You've got the ones that everybody sees, but these, if you hike in a little bit, they're beautiful waterfalls, and they're not visited by very many people. So it's kind of private, kind of beautiful. So I give them the map, and I got to go pick up my kids, and they take off.
Yeah. With the map, we found them all. We even found some extra ones. I mean, it was very impressive. Coming from Belgium, those waterfalls were amazing, So we found them all, went back to our home, and Paul knew where we were standing as one of his classmates. So he gives us a call at night. He just wanted to know if we found them all, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got on the phone, and we were on the phone for 2 hours.
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah. All kinds of, I don't know what we
strangers, right? We don't know each other, but all of a sudden we're like, oh,
yeah,
talk.
Anyway, and then you said,
So I said, you saw those waterfalls, and those are fun. I said, there's a very special waterfall on Mount Hood, on the east side of Mount Hood. It's called Tamanawas Falls. And in 1990, the Native American elders joined together there, and they did ceremony to open the heart of Hood River, or of Mount Hood, excuse me, to open the heart of the mountain. So, and I had known about that. So I said, "What you want to go see this place? It's a very beautiful walk up through the canyons and up this stream, and then there's a beautiful waterfall in Tamanawas Falls."
now we were from Belgium, like, of course we want to see that. So we did.
So we said, "Okay, I'll meet you at the trailhead. I'll bring my dog, and we'll hike into this waterfall."
Right. And we did. So we did with Eliane, myself, Paul, and the dog.
Mm-hmm. And was anyone else with us?
I think that was it.
Okay. Anyway, so we hike into this, and it's a beautiful trail up a creek, and then to this waterfall. So we're walking along, and as we get to the Tamanawas Falls, which is in kind of a bowl, I look across the canyon from where we were, and I saw it was just a vision, 2 Native Americans walking up this trail on the other side of the river, the other side of the stream. And that was very strange. There's no trail there. It was like, what is that? So I said, "Mieke, do you see this? The 2 people on the other side of the canyon there?"
And as he spoke, I saw it in my vision. I saw what he spoke out.
So that was just one of those, like, that's strange, one of those little strange things. So we went, and then the way this waterfall is, it comes down and comes over a basalt cliff, and you can walk around behind it. You have to crawl over rocks and things, but you can get around in the back of the waterfall, so the waterfall's coming over you.
Oh,
And
cool.
so it's kind of a cool experience. I thought, I'm showing off a little bit, let's go in the waterfall. So we do.
But from the moment we saw this vision of that young couple, those 2 Native Americans, then there started to be an energy between us. Like, what is that? But what do we do? I mean, nothing made sense. We were not looking for a relationship. We are 21 years different, 2 different cultures, and it was not really like a sexual attraction. It wasn't like that. It was an energetic frequency. I don't know how to call it. There was something
it
there.
Like warm or?
Well, it was kind of like very interested in this person, but
like a magnetic feeling, but not mentally. Nothing made sense. And it wasn't a sexual attraction. It was like there's something there, but what is that?
So, anyways, very nice trip walk up to the waterfall and then back, and then they went back to Portland. And I went back. I had to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
So I was working as a massage therapist, doing pre-surgical massage and teaching Tai Chi at a local hospital in the Dalles, Oregon, which is about 30 or 40 miles away from where I lived. Mm-hmm. So I had to go back to work.
And we knew we would see each other again for the drumming circle, right? We knew we would see each other for the drumming circle.
So that was the next thing that happened.
Drumming summit. You have to cut this part out. I'm trying to. So the drumming circle, from the drumming circle, then.
Well, that's when we meet.
Yeah.
And have dinner.
Yeah. That's it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the next thing that happened, the drumming circle, we knew we would come together and see each other again for the drumming circle. The drumming circle was at Frank Kopieter's, his Belgian teacher's house.
Well, it's a house and a kind of a center, a little bit of a center, where he held classes and where we went to school. And he had the practical school of wisdom and compassion. And that's what I was attending, which is the alternative healing course that I was following.
And his center was the Living Light Center in Portland. So the whole group from in Breitenbush would come together that night for the drumming circle, and then the Belgians would leave back to Belgium.
Well, soon after that.
Yeah, soon after that. So the day of the drumming circle, Paul and I, me and the 3 Belgians, and Paul and his 3 kids, each in a separate car, we arrive at the same time in Portland at Frank's house. So we get out of the car, we walk together towards the front door, the kids ring the bell, and
Synchronicities again.
Yeah.
Say it again?
Synchronicities again.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Constant.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. All these synchronicities happened. So we walk to the door, ring the bell, and Kathy, Frank's wife, opens the door. She looks at us. She looks white, and she's completely.
She is so sick, and she said, "What are you doing here?" And we go, "Drumming circle." She says, "I canceled it. I called everybody and canceled it. I'm sure I contacted everybody." Well, guess who didn't get the message?
For whatever
For whatever reason.
Paul and the kids and me and the other two Belgians didn't get the message. So there we were at the door.
So I said, "Well, let's go out to dinner." So I'm going to take my kids to their mom, their birth mom, and then I'll meet these guys for dinner. So we have a nice restaurant down by the river, and so we agree to meet there.
Yeah.
We have a wonderful, wonderful meal. Talk, and just share things. This is Belgium. This is the U.S. This is how we do things here. This is how you do things. So it was just a very pleasant dinner.
And we both realized that we both had a dog. And anyway, so we talked and shared, and we started to question what we started to realize, what are these things? Why are these things happening? What's going on here? And we knew that we would, there was one more event that would happen that everybody in the class there was interested in. It was a talk from Peruvian elders that would talk in Portland, Oregon, the night before we would leave to Belgium, about the earth changes and the prophecies from the Peruvian elders.
2012. What was supposed to happen in 2012? Now, this, of course, is 1998, so we're a little bit ahead of it.
So they were going to talk about the changes and the prophecies for 2012, and most of us were interesting to do that, to go there. And I was thinking, what is happening between us, Paul? What does this all mean? I said, what? We need more guidance here. What does this mean? I said, what? I will come to Hood River. I knew there was one afternoon that same afternoon from the Peruvian elder that he wasn't working. I said, what if I take the bus? Come to your home, we hang out together and see if we can get more information about what this all means. I said, I will take the bus.
And I said, there's no bus. There's no bus service between Portland and Hood
And I'm like, what do you mean there's no bus? He says, no, there's no bus. Now in Europe, you have a bus every 5 minutes to every direction you want to go. This public transportation is everywhere. So I could not understand that he says, what, a major city like Portland and Hood River only like 45 minutes away, how could there be no bus? I couldn't understand that with my European, mind. I said, no bus. I'm just shaking my head. I said, okay, no problem. Then I will take the train.
There's no train between Portland and Hood River. We're talking Amtrak was the only service, and it comes once a day, and you never know exactly when it'll be because of the,
And I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, I couldn't understand that. Couldn't understand that. What? There's no bus.
So I said, let me take a look. There may be a bus, or maybe a Greyhound bus that makes a service. Sure enough, one bus that met our requirements. One bus between Portland and Hood River.
And then you even had to sign up in advance. I mean, I could not understand it. I said, okay, one bus, I will take that bus. So I got on the bus, drove to Hood River. We spent the afternoon. It was very awkward because there was this energy between us.
We didn't know what to do.
I had no idea what to do with it. I had no idea what it meant. So we spent the afternoon together, and then Paul would drive both of us back to Portland.
For the Peruvian elder.
Yeah, which we did. And on that drive from Hood River to Portland, something very, very powerful for me happened. I experienced a oneness experience. It's very hard to explain. Many people take drugs to get into that state of oneness beyond your normal senses. I was therein from the moment we left Hood River to Portland. I felt completely one with all my senses, one with Paul, with myself, nature, the huge Colombian River, the mountains, the music in the car. I was in that state of oneness, a complete vibrational field. That was the best. That was the best thing I've ever experienced.
So then we go to the Peruvian elder talk, and that was good. But we're kind of acting like teenagers at this point, and we don't know what's happening. So we're kind of kind of holding hands a little bit.
Listen to the elders.
Listen to the elders.
Not knowing what to do.
Very strange.
I would leave the next day.
That night, actually, or the next morning.
Yeah, the next morning. Anyway.
So I took her to her host family, gave her a ride to there, and then bye.
Bye-bye.
So they're going back to Belgium.
Back to
and
Belgium.
I'd like to go back to work.
We would stay in contact by phone. We had a friendship in the meanwhile with all those real weird things happening. So I go back to Belgium and he's back to his life. There's no sign we would be together. There's nothing. I mean, nothing made sense logically. So then I was working and many things started happening when I was in Belgium. I was working with disabled people and my integrity could not keep staying in that work because they gave so much medications to these people. Then they had meetings about their behavior because of the medication, but they don't say that. Then the people are freaking out. They're going into other psychosis. They have another meeting. They change the medication. It's this big money machine of, medical.
So yeah,
So I decided that I can't do that anymore. I don't believe in that. So, but I couldn't quit my job because to go to America, I had taken a loan to go to America and I just bought myself a new car in Belgium. So I could not quit. I had to pay my bills. I was living by myself and I couldn't quit. So I said, you know what? I'm going to be very honest. I'm going to go ask for a meeting with the head of the company and I'm going to tell her that I need a break. And I did. I set up a meeting. And so I go into the meeting and she said, what can I do for you? And I said, well, this is my situation. I feel like I'm completely burned out. I can't do this anymore. I need a break. And I'm here to ask if you could give me the paper so I can go on unemployment. And I knew she could say yes or no. And I left it up to the universe. I said, universe, you decide. And she looked at me and she felt my integrity and she says, okay, I will do that for you. Another synchronicity. I was open card and I got the papers so I could go on unemployment and just take a break for a little bit. So that happened. I did that. And then what happened, I was starting to get sick and I felt like I was dying. And I was in communication with Paul, so he knew what I was going through, right? Mm-hmm. So we're on the phone. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? Because I was laying on my couch. I felt like I was dying. I had no idea what's going on with me. And then Paul suggested, maybe you can call Els, the teacher that was in Breitenbush, my teacher from Belgium, and ask her
for something. She's a physician. She is very, very gifted.
Homeopath,
and a physician. And
it's full booked months in advance. Right.
Yeah.
I said, that's a great idea. So I call Els. I was expecting the answer machine, but she picks up her phone. I'm like, why are you picking up your phone? She says, well, when my intuition tells me to pick up my phone, I pick up my phone. I said, okay, Els, this is what's going on with me. I feel like I'm dying. I have no idea. I don't want to go to a doctor, regular doctor. I don't want pills. I don't need time off from work because I'm already off, so I don't want any of that. But I would like you, if you have a student, one of your good students, that could look at me energetically and kind of look what's going on with me because I have no idea. And it really feels like I'm dying. So she's quiet for a second and she says, you know what? You come tomorrow in my lunch break. I feel I have to take care of you. Another miracle. I'm like, what? On top of that, my best friend, Veerle, who had made an appointment for herself months in advance, her appointment was right after her lunch break, so she could even drive me, because I was not in a state of driving myself. All synchronicities. Unbelievable. I go to the appointment. I go up inside, and she said, sit down. I sit down, and I'm really like, I could hardly walk. That's in a bad shape I was.
Wow.
She takes the chair in front of me and she closes her eyes and she sits there for a second and then she opens her eyes and she asked me one question. And the question was, so Mieke, what's the best thing that ever happened to you? That's the question she asked me. Immediately I knew the answer, the oneness experience. I mean, that was a no-brainer. That was the best feeling in my whole life. I said, Els, the best thing that ever happened to me was that oneness experience with Paul, driving from Hood River to Portland. So she starts asking questions about Paul, and I was getting mad. I was like, internally, I said, why is he asking about Paul? I don't get it. Let her focus on me. I'm the one who's not feeling good. She says, well, Mieke, you know what I see? She says, the reason why you're feeling you're dying is because your life in Belgium is done. You're
Oh,
at the end of your life in Belgium. You're supposed to be there with Paul and the kids.
wow.
I get shivers right now saying
Yeah,
this.
I got a little bit too.
yeah. Oh, it's in the air here.
From the moment she said that, the truth, I get shivers. I never had this many shivers when I was sharing this. I get it right now. From the moment she said
It's
that,
making me tear up.
the truth was spoken, and I don't know in how many seconds I felt back to normal. From being like I was dead to being completely feeling well in a few seconds. I knew she was right. And all those things that happened that we just explained to you all made sense in the bigger picture, the puzzle. I was like, wow. So at the moment I get this realization, her husband comes in with sandwiches because I was taking in her lunch break. She had no time to go into the kitchen for her food. So she tells me, no, before that, I have to add one more thing. In the session, she says, where's Paul? And I knew we were on the phone. It was 9 hours difference, and I knew, well, it's 6 o'clock in the morning right now. He's getting up. She says, call him. I'm like, what? Right now? Yep, call him right now in the session. I pick up the phone. I call Paul. He knew I was in the session.
I was worried about her because she was the last call that we had. She was feeling like she was dying. She didn't know what it was, and she was just going to, hopefully find some solution or some resolution on that by talking to Els or one of her students.
Yeah. So I said, what are we going to do? And then you said, I told him what happened in the session, and then he says, well,
shoot, spring break's coming up. Why don't you come over for a week and let's see what's going on here. See if we have what is this, and maybe we can figure it out more.
And I said, okay. So in that moment, Joost comes in with the sandwiches, and Els tells me, tell him. And I was like, okay. And that was the best thing she could have said, because I had to verbalize it, and for the first time, speak out. Like they say, the word. First there was the word, and then creation.
Yes.
I had to speak out to a third party what I'm about to do, to go to America.
I keep hearing that. God spoke.
I see you guys living your lives, but somebody is like steering you.
Exactly.
I know the whole time.
That's what it felt like.
Here, guys, angels, what's happening?
Right. But we did logically, mentally, nothing made sense because we were not looking for a relationship, but the bell was ringing over and over and over, like, hello, guys, pay attention. So finally in this session, I got it. Everything made sense all of a sudden. So I told Joost, I said, well, I think I might be moving to America, right? Anyway, so then I had to walk out of the session, and my best friend, who was then, her session was afterwards. So anyway, I walk out, and she said, how was your session? I'm like, you go into your session first. I knew it was important. I didn't want to take away from her session. She needed to go to hers first. I needed to digest what just happened because my whole world was about to change, and I had to integrate. I said, you go to your session. We will talk afterwards. She says, okay. She went to her session. She came back. Then we shared about our sessions. And I'd asked her not to share anybody because I had to walk into my new life trying to figure out, how to integrate this whole thing. But from the moment she said, you're supposed to be with Paul and the kids, I felt back to normal and knew what I had to do, and all the synchronicities made sense. Anyway.
How lucky for you to find the guidance, because so many people would have just sat there and gone to the doctors and taken pills and who knows what.
Yeah.
Because I know there is an energetic reason for everything. Nothing happens by
accident.
Accident. And from a very small age on, I had a grandfather who showed me that the medical system and all those systems that are not there to support you. He was more like a shaman in my eyes, and I learned a lot from him not to trust all those systems. So I wanted to go direct. I knew there was a reason for that. Anyway, So then
You fly over.
I fly over. We had a great week.
Spend a week together,
Yeah.
and with the kids and everything just goes along just really smooth. And then it comes to the end of the week.
And we're like, what now? We didn't
Now
even think
what?
ahead. We were just so in the moment, experience being together. I'm like, Paul, what are we going to do now? So then we called Frank.
No, before that,
Yeah.
I said we have to pressure test this.
Okay.
We were going to have to pressure test this relationship because we still didn't know what was going on. So I said, I'll tell you what, because she had to go back to Belgium. I says, okay, you come back the first part of the summer. We'll be out of school. I'll take a couple of weeks off from work, and we'll travel around together, dogs, kids, tent camping for 2 weeks on the road. And
That's
if
a pressure test.
that'll make it or break.
Right? For sure.
Because no games to play, no time to lose, or are we going to be together or not? I mean, that was the deal. The whole universe has shown us we're supposed to be together, so let's test it. And we did.
So you came back. We came back. We had traveled around Oregon, down into California, to Redwoods and Crater Lake and all these beautiful places. Wonderful, wonderful trip. Then we're coming near the end of that, and it's like,
Whoa.
now what?
Now
What do we do? Looks like we're going to be together. That looks pretty sure.
Yeah. So let's call Frank, because Frank, his teacher was a Belgian and he married an American person. Let's ask him. So we asked him and he said, well, you better get married in Belgium. It goes faster. And I thought to myself, well, I better. Nobody knows who Paul is. I'm going to be moving to America, leave my friends and family. They have no clue. What? Paul? Who's that? 3 kids? I thought I better show my family and my parents, my friends, who I'm going to get married to. So we decided to go married in Belgium. From the moment we made that decision, we had to get married because for me to come into the United States, you can't be here. And we wanted to be together. I mean, we wanted to get married. So that's the way we decided to do it. From the moment we made that decision, another miracles happened. From the moment people heard about that, everybody started pitching in. The whole wedding came together. We didn't even have to question what to do. My brother is an artist. He decided to make the invitations. My sister owned a pub. She says, I will provide the drinks. And whatever's not used, I take back. One of the Belgian students who was in Brighton Bush, he's an architect. He says, hey, I have a beautiful farm. Let's do the party there. What else happened? My mom bought my wedding dress in Paris without asking me. I was terrified that I'm not going to like it, but it was perfect. I mean, all these things happened without even...
Yeah. Oh, also, how are we going to do the food now?
Yeah, my brother says, why don't you do that American thing? I said, what American thing? He says, potluck. You know, you don't really do like in Belgium. I'm like, that's a great idea. So I said, everybody, hey, we're going to do potluck. I had to orchestrate because Belgians were like, what? I bring food for how many people? Anyway, I had to say, you bring bread for 10 people, meat for whatever, I said. And so the food came together. So the venue was there. All the details were presented freely. And I also said, we don't want any money, no gifts. You know, I'm going to be moving over there. So it was like a total money-free event. Magically done. People still talk about it, how beautiful and how powerful that wedding was. There was drums, a piano, kids. My neighbor had puppies. She said, can I bring puppies? Maybe people are going to want them.
Maybe find her
all the puppies found the home.
Puppies, yeah.
Puppies. It was just a natural, organic happening. I mean, it was powerful.
So we get done with that. The next day, we're going to take the alcohol back, the drinks back. And we go in and look we had all these cases of wine and beer because Belgians typically go to a wedding and they expect to have, a
lot of free booze. And they drink a lot. They know how to drink beer very well.
I like some Belgian beer.
Yeah, we're fans of Belgian beer.
Exactly.
Yeah. But the strange thing was...
My sister came to pick up the drinks and she says, hello, didn't we have a party here yesterday? People felt so relaxed and so good that they hardly touched hardly any alcohol, which is very unusual.
A case of wine and a couple of cases of beer, that was all it was drawing. And we had plenty for
about 100 people. I mean, she says, I can't believe this.
They forgot to drink.
They forgot to drink.
They forgot to drink. They have too much fun. They forgot to drink.
Can I ask a question? How long
Sure.
have you two known each other at that point when you got married?
Very good. So we met in, let's say, July or August, July of 98. The session with Els was in January 99. We got in the first spring break was what March, April?
Yeah, about April, and
then the 2 weeks on the road was in July.
Early summer, yeah.
And then we decided to get married, and we got married in August 20th, which is coming up. Will be our 23rd anniversary.
Yeah.
In 99. So we knew each other about a year. Yeah.
I mean,
it was boom, 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 boom.
It sounded really quick when you're talking about the story, but with all the logistics and everything, I mean, a year with the
With all the travel and everything.
yeah, that's
I don't
Oh,
think
yes.
you could put that together just for fun.
No.
Now, I mean, it takes
No.
months just to get a
Exactly.
single trip put together.
Exactly.
You're right, Joe. And this is so the pieces just fell into place. The
Yeah.
tickets became available. The things that we were doing, everything fell into place very easily. Which we know when that's happening that we're following the right path. That's kind of our the guidance that we get. If it goes easy, let's do it. If it goes hard, then we're not going the right way. And
We're not going to force our will on it.
Yeah.
If it's meant to be, it will go. So what happened
I tell
then?
people that, if it's meant to be, it's almost effortless.
Exactly.
It's not a
Right.
struggle.
Yeah.
Right. And the mind was not involved. It was all it was beyond the mental logic, which was kind of unusual, right?
Yeah.
So then what happened? Okay, to do this whole transition, there's a lot of paperwork involved. We had to go to Brussels, back and forth, back and forth. And Paul really wanted to go to Paris. Now it's with the train only 2 hours from my home, 4 hours by car, but we go there all the time. But for Paul, he really wanted to go to
It was
Paris.
my first time in Europe, so
Right,
I haven't
right.
seen any of it. So
Yeah.
So we said, okay, we will do the paperwork, we do the marriage, we go to Paris, pick up the final paperwork, and then fly. We booked our tickets already for me and my dog together to fly with Paul back to the US. So we go to Paris, had a great time.
fun. I'd never seen Paris before. Beautiful city. We had a great time there.
We go back to Brussels to pick up the paperwork, and they say, whoa, 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 whoa. You can get on that plane. If you go to the plane tomorrow, you're going to get arrested when you arrive in the United States. I'm like, what? Arrested?
We're married. How can that be?
No. Yes, you're married, but with an American, but your paperwork isn't finalized. I'm like, what do you mean? You said that's it? Yeah, that's it. Well, they said, no, you just finalized the application.
So yeah, they said you can't go. You can't go.
You can go. And I was standing there, and I knew, I trust the universe. And I was like, maybe somebody will come around the corner and say, no, it's fine. You just have to do this. I said, okay, universe, tell me. It will be yes or no. I will be on that plane or not. Miracles can happen. I knew that so far. And Paul was really furious. He was really furious. I said, we will see. Well, no, I was not able to get on the plane.
The next day, I fly back to Oregon and have people that pick me up. Hey, where's your wife? It's like,
Heartbreaking.
Well, it was just we didn't know, and they said, well, it could be a month, it could be 3 months. We don't know how long it's going to take for the process to go through. And
well,
it's like,
for me, it was the best thing that could ever happen in my whole life because I was able to be in the moment. I sold the house was gone, the car was gone, I had no responsibilities. I had all the time in the world to say goodbye to my friends, my family, in a very peaceful, enjoyable way. I didn't know how long it would take. It only took a month, but it was like a completion time for me. I knew I would be moving to a new life in a new culture, and I was able to say goodbye to my previous life. I was like an in-between state, and it was the best thing that could have happened to me. A gift from the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So, a month later, 30 days later, tring. Okay, your paperwork is ready. You can go now. I immediately booked the airplane ticket for the next day. Or
you and your dog.
Me and my dog. We flew over, and I started my new life with Paul and the kids, with the 2 dogs, mine and his, in Hood River. And
Anyway, so the kids wanted to know what to call her. So I had no say in this at all. And so they asked.
so Andrew, the oldest, he was 9 at the time. First 5 minutes in the house, he comes to me and he says, "So how I'm gonna call you?" And I love kids, and I work with that was my job in Belgium my whole life. I work with kids. I said, Andrew, that's your decision. I'm not gonna interfere with that. You call me whatever you want. My name is Mieke, but whatever you want to call me, that's fine with me. And he says, "I'm gonna call you Mom." And it just stopped me in my tracks because, I didn't expect any of that. I mean, and the two youngest heard what he said, and they ran towards Andrew giggling, and they asked me, "What did he say?" And I'm just standing there, and he turns around and he says, "I'm calling her Mom." So from the first 5 minutes, all three kids, they still do. We have a great relationship. They have two moms.
They have two moms.
We are all connected in such a deep, natural way. I mean, I don't never take it for granted. To me, it's just a gift, another gift from the universe, that we all see each other as we respect each other in very deep ways. And I really admire that from all of us, that we could be in a state like that. So now the youngest is going to turn this month 28. Angela is 30, and Andrew is 33.
That's incredible. What a beautiful, interesting, crazy story.
And that's how we came together, and the stories and adventures keep expanding after that. We moved with three kids, two dogs, to Maui for a year. I mean, it keeps going. We can keep, we sharing our stories in episodes. We share it with everybody who wants to hear it, but it keeps unfolding. There's a never dull moment. We stay open, and the universe keeps providing.
You just have to have trust and trust your gut. I always say trust your gut.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that was very amazing is that in all this whirlwind of getting together and things, we'd never discussed interactions with ETs. I didn't know that she'd had them.
Yeah, that's right.
She didn't know that I'd had them, and
I
so
was about to ask.
Yeah.
yeah.
When did
So
that come up?
late after we were together, so we're in Oregon, and something happens there.
Yeah,
That's when
we talked about all the energetics. We did, both of us, alternative healing, shamanism, and we were very comfortable with all the energetic world and frequencies, but we never had conversations about ETs. But one event triggered that in Hood River. I'm coming from another culture, and that's a lot to deal with, from being a single woman in Belgium, to be having three kids, a husband, another culture, all these other habits. It was, I had those moments where it just overwhelmed me. And I had one of those moments that I felt so bad. And I didn't want to throw my negative emotions that I felt onto Paul and the kids. I thought that wasn't fair. But I had to do something with myself. I said, "Paul, I'm going to go outside and sit at the tree. I need to ground myself. I am just not feeling good." I do that, and the moment I sit down and I look up in the sky and I see a red ball flying down from all the way in the sky like a fiery ball behind the woods somewhere in the distance. And it just freaked me out. I was from feeling so bad to completely in fear.
What did you think it was?
Well, I just felt so uncomfortable. I needed to find shelter. I just ran in the house as fast as I could and said, "Paul, Paul, Paul." Anyway, that's all in the book. All these things are in the book. But that triggered the conversations.
So we started talking about
ETs and possibilities, and then all the memories from myself were coming back, and his memories were coming back, his ET experiences. And that's when we started the conversation. And the more we talked, the more memories and experiences came back. And all these are all in the book. So that's the ones we're sharing.
It's more guidance.
Absolutely. And we did.
When the time was right.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. When the time was right. And since then, we have learned to share with each other. Then we learned to share with the world. And we are very comfortable right now talking. We know there's more out there, and that's why we're talking to you, because the stories of humanity needs to be shared.
The truth has to come out.
Yeah.
What's our relationship with, especially all the people on the planet, but then how about all these other races that have been visiting the planet? because we know they have been.
And
right?
how do we relate in the bigger picture of humanity and beyond? How does that all work? So there's so much stuff that needs to come out, and we're all playing our part. You play your part with the Twisted Universe. We play our part with the book and sharing our stories. And everybody, all of you, everybody's listening. Each has their part to play because each has their own unique story. And that's the message we want to give. No life is there for no reason. Everybody is so important in this bigger picture. That's our main message.
It's a good message.
I just don't think everybody, they don't always get the guidance. I wonder, would you have any insight to help people tap into that, or how does one start to receive?
Trust yourself, and even if it doesn't make sense, trust that there is a reason for everything. It might not show up immediately, but and follow the things that makes you feel the best. Like I was following we were following classes that we really wanted to do. Do the things you really want to do, and you start the trajectory towards that.
So we were doing that, and so this was an alternative thing completely, that we didn't know each other had these ET experiences, and so when we started to share that back and forth, and it's like, wait a minute, there's way more going on here. That's even more reason why we've coming together.
Right.
And then we knew that we would have to do something to bring this story out, to put our part anyway of what we knew and what we'd experienced.
Yeah.
And that was the next part of it. And it took us a number of years before we would even think about sharing. I had grown up in a small town. I had a dental practice at one point, and then I was also doing this work at the hospital. And you don't say that kind of stuff in a small town. Oh yeah, I've had some ET experiences, and so is my new wife. And no, that's not a good way to fit into the community. Well, we thought that at the time it would not work. So.
Paul had a very powerful ET experience as a dentist in his practice, where 2 ETs showed up. That's all in the book. You can read that there. And a lot of people, you don't share that because people ridicule it. I mean. So, and that's okay, because it's okay. If people don't believe it, that's fine. We are at the point this is our truth. Other people who has not any of those experiences, you don't have to believe it, because my main message is you don't have to believe it if you don't experience it yourself. But just start sharing what's true for you.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Yeah,
so that's okay.
You have to kind of embrace the reality that it happened to you, and not everybody
exactly
has a point of reference or can grasp that.
Right. And that's fine.
Not everybody has an open mind either to think that it could happen. So
right.
Yeah.
Because we all come here with our own purpose, and there's people's purpose has nothing to do with all these things we're talking about here. They have a different purpose.
Different path, different purpose.
Yeah, and that's okay. And to be okay with all of that.
So one of the things
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I could say, so one of the things that actually allowed us, or told us, showed us that was going to do it. We were living in Santa Rosa, California, and they were having a symposium, what was it, ET symposium, basically?
It was a international film festival, and they had a special section about UFO films.
And Travis Walton was going to be there, and we thought, well, that would be really great. Let's meet Travis Walton, because again, this is right in our line, our trajectory of what we had experienced, and we wanted to meet someone else that had a great experience.
And Travis Walton, he is the subject of the movie Fire in the Sky from in the 90s, I think, or yeah.
Late 80s.
That was the lumberjacks, or they were out.
Yeah.
They were out
That's
in the
it.
forest.
Yep.
That's one of the most studied UFO experiencers. He was abducted. And then recently they made a documentary. Jennifer Stein made a documentary about the real story. Not the Hollywood version, story, but the real story, which I really suggest everybody watching it. And we've never met anybody who also had ET abductions like I had as a child. so we said, let's go, let's meet him so we can feel how real is he, how does he talks
How
about
does he
that.
do it? How does he bring it out to an audience?
And by going there and meeting him and feeling the sincerity and the power of him sharing with the world his story, we're like, we need to do that too. We need to start talking. And that's how we started opening up to the world our own experiences. Anyway.
I don't think people realize how incredibly difficult it is to have open conversations like this. We had to really discuss that. Like, is this something that we want to bring forward? Because not everybody's going to relate and people will judge, but we felt it was important.
Yeah. We met you at ECETI, and it's interesting. After we went to ECETI, I kind of just started just talking about it offhandedly to whoever, just let the chips fall where they may, as far as what they think of me, because when I'm not around, they mostly don't. So it's okay. And you know, at the very least, you drop the seeds that they start thinking, well, maybe it's not all what I think it is. Maybe there's more out there than what I'm seeing or what I believe I see. And maybe a few people start to think about it too, or maybe they have a common experience that they're afraid to talk about, and they see that you can openly talk about it in detail, and that helps them to process and move forward too.
With their ET or supernatural or psychic abilities or healing alternatives, whatever your modality is, or not everybody can relate, but there's a lot of people out there, and I think more people are waking up and having realizations that this stuff is happening.
And that's why the book is called My Life is a Mystery, because I believe all of us have some kind of a mysteries, but then we put it aside because it doesn't have any room to share because it doesn't make sense, right? But if all of us start to kind of recall those little mysteries, like, wow, when you start paying attention to them, they start happening more and they all start making sense. And that's what we want to support other people with. Like, yeah, that little mystery you had, just think about it and maybe share it with somebody.
You start connecting the dots with other people.
Yeah. Exactly. And I believe this story, the connection between us and the other beings that are in the universe and even sometimes on the planet, this is the biggest movement that our culture can do, our world culture can do, is to actually begin to interact and work with these other civilizations, I'll put it that way, because they're definitely civilizations. And if they can get here, their technology is way beyond what we have.
And it's already on the planet and it's already being used, but not available for the public. And that's the main reason why we share too, because that needs to come out. There's technologies here that could solve so many problems, transportation, medical problems.
Energy.
And that needs power that would be free for people to use. It would solve so many survival issues we have. And that's partially why we share, because it's available. We know it. We've experienced it. Paul experienced it in his dental practice. So
that just kind of triggered an interesting thought I had. So like the technology, maybe we do have the capability to go there just like they can come here. We just don't know it yet. Like, for instance, anybody can do Reiki. But until you know you can, it doesn't exist for you. It's just hokum. But once you've learned just the basics and felt it and experienced the fact that you can do it, then it's like picking up the telephone. Yeah, second nature, tying your shoes, or it's just a skill you haven't learned. And so like the people that can remote view, most likely anybody can do it. They just need to learn how.
Exactly.
Or believe they can.
Yeah, well, part of that, as part of the learning process, you learn the basics and put the pieces together until you can do the hard thing.
Exactly.
Exactly right, Joe. And that's what we've found out in our own journey. And we found out that we could do things that we didn't believe we could do before. And then it's like, whoa, what else is there? Interesting deal. When I was a very young kid, my mom was looking for a pair of scissors, and I was sitting in the kitchen with her. She asked where they were. I said, well, they're right there in the living room. And I'm pointing into the living room, which there's a wall between me and the living room. She says, what do you mean? I says, well, they're right there in the living room. And she says, you can't see through walls. And immediately I couldn't see through walls. So I could, at that point, I was a very young kid. I could see through walls if it was, if it was purposeful. And then all of a sudden, then I couldn't. So a lot of people have experiences, and then the authorities, whatever that be, whether it's school or religion or parents or whatever, they say you can, that's not good. Don't do that, and then it ends it. So
that's not allowed. So people
Yeah,
shut those qualities down, and that's what happened.
Throw away your belief systems and experience what life has to offer.
That's it. We're still working on releasing beliefs that we were born into.
Oh yeah.
So that's an ongoing theme in our relationship.
So it's time that we remember the qualities that we have, and those qualities we share in our book. And when people read them, you're going to start remembering, oh, I have that too. And that's how we start remembering who we are, what we can be capable of, and then we can start using those qualities again.
It's giving a lot of people hope, I'm sure. I think everybody needs to read your book. It's on Amazon. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to say thank you to both of you for being so brave and coming forward and sharing your story and your beautiful romance and all the synchronicities. That's just been so cool.
It's quite a story, yeah.
Well, thank you. It's a huge story, and without living it, we would have never believed it. So it's we were seriously, no, this can't happen. We can't do this. 2 generations, 2 different cultures, no way. But it did. It did happen. Here we are. And it can happen with anybody.
Right.
Well, thank you guys. Have a wonderful evening.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
Joe.
Bye.
Thank you, Christy. Bye.
Bye-bye.